In today's video, we're going to talk about the Pumonca. They are a were-cougar changing breed from Werewolf the Apocalypse. They belong to the Bastet tribe. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome to the Maple Table. My name's Nathaniel. This is a channel where we discuss role-playing games, so if that's something you're interested in, I would love to have you join me at the table. Please subscribe, please. Now, unfortunately, in the 20th anniversary edition of the Changing Breeds book, there is not a lot of information there. So I'm going to be pulling some information from the 2nd edition revised, and with what little there is in 4th edition, mashing it together and hopefully giving you the full picture of the Pumonca. It's a really hard name to say. The Pumonca reside almost exclusively in North America. Cougars are very common to Canada and the United States. They are also very common to the mountainous regions. This is where you will commonly find the were-cougar. The Pumonca are extremely isolationist. Like most cougars, they really don't want to be around other people, or animals, or anything else. So unfortunately, this means that there isn't that much of a tribal structure when it comes to the Pumonca. Some of the elders in the Pumonca tribe have been trying to develop some sort of a communication network, even if a little rudimentary. The problem that they've been running into is because the were-cougars are so independent, they have not been following the instructions or following the guides that the tribal elders are trying to put in place. There is just a lack of cooperation from the individuals who make up the tribe. While the cougar is not on the endangered species list, that does not mean that the Pumonca have extreme numbers. The Pumonca are extremely picky when it comes to their mates, and those that they do end up choosing tend to be that of the more aloof persuasion. When I say this, I'm talking directly about hippies and drifters.
Look, a drifter, let's kill him!
Knowing how much of a loner a Pumonca is, it should come as no surprise that they are incredibly good when it comes to stealth, espionage. The Bastet were always good as Gaia's spies, but the Pumonca take this to a whole nother level. The Pumonca actually have an interesting history. In the early days of human history, when Gaia created the shapeshifters, she created the werewolves, the Bastet, and all the other changing breeds that we know today. It was the Garou's task to keep the humans in line so that they didn't become too prideful and become basically what we are as a species today. The werewolves failed. During the early days of human history, the werewolves were bullying humankind, and it's one of the reasons that the delirium exists. Delirium is just a craziness that sets over a person if they are to see a werewolf in their werewolf form. It's terrifying. It's so ingrained in the human psyche. That's how effective the werewolves were in the early days. Basically, if a human went out in the dark, the werewolves would kill them and eat them. So delirium is a thing. It is a deep-rooted fear in the back of your mind of any sort of horror that we experienced as a species long ago. And you can thank the Garou in large part for that. While the Garou were messing about with humankind, there was a spirit called Da-Joji, and it was very fond of a particular group of humans. These would have been an early indigenous people of North America. Da-Joji was a very fierce puma spirit. Before we continue on with the rest of the video, I would like to remind you that the subscribe button and the bell notification are over here. If you're enjoying the video so far, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And this particular spirit, he loved the humans, he liked watching them, and there was the indigenous group of people that he was particularly fond of. When the Garou started killing this particular indigenous peoples that he was so fond of, it really angered him, as anybody would be angry when something that's precious to you is destroyed, or being destroyed. The Garou were getting too big for their britches at this point, and many of the animal spirits, the fathers and the mothers of the changing breeds, they didn't really know what to do. They had a kind of spirit council, I guess you could call it, and they were not fond of Father Wolf, who was allowing his children to do this. So it's said from Pumonca history that the Pumonca were created in this time of trial. The werewolves were bullying the humans. The favored humans of Dajoji. So it is said the Dajoji summoned a great wind, one that was so strong that when it came through, it blew sand, it blew dust and debris. Any of the bodies that were in the mountains, whether they be Garou or whether they be Bastet, human, doesn't matter. They were covered in this dust. Trees, rocks, mountains, everything was covered. Once the dust had settled, Dajoji came down and sculpted the first Pumonca, so it said. The purpose of creating the Pumonca this way was to attack the Garou. They were created as warriors. With the werewolves killing unchecked numbers of humans, there was no balance of power. So the Pumonca were created to balance this power. It doesn't say exactly when this happened, but I would figure that this would be sometime in the early days of the First War of Rage. This is where the Pumonca really came into their own. They were designed to sneak about in the dark. They would follow and they would harass the Garou. If a single Garou left its pack for whatever reason, they would follow it into the dark, hunt it, and kill it. And usually they only needed one Pumonca to do it. There wasn't a big killing pack. As you can imagine, the werewolves did not take very kindly to this, and they started seeking out the Pumonca to try to kill them and figure out what was going on. The werewolves obviously did not like this when they started noticing that some of their members were dying for unknown reasons. The Garou tried to figure it out, to find out who exactly was killing them. It really sparked their rage. They got really mad about it. The way it kind of describes it is why I think this was happening during the First War of Rage, because we're still in the early days of human history. The wolves would hide in the forest. The Pumonca took to the mountains. It was easy to come down from the mountains into the forests. It was much harder for the wolves to come from the forest to the mountains. Eventually, some of the Garou elders were able to figure out that it was a tribe of the Bastet, although one that they were unfamiliar with. After some pretty gruesome conflict, the elders of the Garou nation were able to wise up. They came to an understanding with the tribe of Bastet, and they promised not to harass the Bastet kinfolk. This was a promise that they would eventually break in the future, and it was known by the Bastet that this would eventually be broken in the future as well, but for the time being, it created a sort of peace between the two tribes. The spirit council of the various tribes of changing breeds, they were satisfied with this resolution. Father Wolf had been shamed during this period of time while the Garou were killing humans. Through this peace agreement between the Garou and the Bastet, Father Wolf was able to gain some respect back because they had made an honorable deal. And the other changing breeds were happy because their kinfolk were no longer being slaughtered. From that point on, it has been the duty of the Pumonca to protect their kinfolk, and it's something that they have done very well. So what does a Pumonca look like? The Pumonca share a likeness with the cougars of North America, as I've just spent a great deal of time talking about. The name is slightly misleading as they do not have a heritage with the puma. They do also have a heritage with the Florida panther as well, but this heritage is slowly slipping away as the Florida panther is near extinct. There's only about 120, maybe 130 of them left in the wild. A Pumonca on the human side will share a resemblance with many of the indigenous peoples of North America. Some of their physical characteristics will be quite weathered, as they will be spending most of their time alone, in a cabin, probably, or a cave, on the top of a mountain. The Pumonca have an extremely strong tie to the land. Whatever land they go to, they develop a very close relationship with it. If they're brand new, they understand it very well. If they've been there for a long time, they understand it even better. It's just kind of a gift of theirs. This will lead us into the Yava of the Pumonca. The Pumonca has some interesting characteristics when it comes to things that they can or cannot do. The first Yava of the Pumonca. The Pumonca is one with the land. If they are to leave their land for more than a full lunar cycle, they will die. The second Yava of the Pumonca is also related to land as well. The essence of the land that they call home is extremely important to the Pumonca. They are extremely sensitive to the spirit of the land, and as such, things like radiation, toxic waste, sewage, poison, it will affect them very deeply, especially if the Pumonca has been submerged in this toxic waste on their land. It will in fact kill them if it happens. Another Yava of the Pumonca, and the last one of the Pumonca. No animal likes the Pumonca. None. A Pumonca cannot ride a horse. Dogs and small cats will not approach a Pumonca. The only type of animal that will approach a Pumonca is a larger great cat. They're the only animals on the planet that will befriend a Pumonca. All other animals are afraid of the Pumonca. I think the Pumonca has some decent choices to be a good player character. I'm not a particularly big fan of this tribe in and of itself. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of information around the Pumonca in the 20th anniversary edition for them. There's nothing there. Like I said, I had to go digging through some of the older source material to even get as much as I found. And that's a real disappointment because there is quite a bit of source material for them in previous editions that could have been added to this. With some of their history and how it's woven into the Garou and how they were hunting them, actually, I think there's some interesting stories to be told through a Pumonca perspective. Up on the screen now, I will have a playlist of the other Bastet tribes that I have covered, so please feel free to check those out. YouTube will have also made a recommendation it thinks you would like. My name's Nathaniel. You've been watching The Maple Table. Thank you so much for your subscription. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.